Roles of a denizen. A content creator is a user that creates posts and is rewarded based on the quality of their content. A content evaluator is a user that helps assess the quality of content and enforces community standards. The evaluator is effectively taking part in a marketplace to curate content and is rewarded for early evaluation. A content consumer is a user that wishes to find and consume the most valuable content in a given subject area or within a community. A lair owner is a person holding tokenized ownership of all or part of a community lair. Owners are rewarded with a portion of all mining activity happening within their lair. Owners are incentivized to build the best community of content creators and evaluators.
Hey.
Greg and I am right off the bat joining us. How you doing? Thanks for joining the call.
Good.
Oh, and I can't hear you. Your mic works now. Good job fixing that. I am. If you want to join in on these, like I said, we do them every week. There's a post over in the DENDAO layer. These usually come up by sometime around Wednesday is usually when they drop. There's a link at the top.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and pull it up now.
Clock if you're on the flame.
Yeah, click clock.
That was a useful tip, man.
There at the top, there's a clock that you can click, and if you click the clock, you get a click clock flame. And that, the reason that exists is to sort by chronological order and ignore people's votes as far as sorting by energy. If you click it over and it's a flame, then it's sorting by trending, which is typically the most popular recent content is what that usually gives.
It's also great. The clock is great for people who want to evaluate stuff because it's worth more to predict early.
Yeah. So actually, before I go to the agenda there, the way I usually roll, there's a couple of buttons since I'm talking about them. There's a search function where you can search for stuff. There's a drafts page where you can look at drafts that you've written and saved as a draft that you can publish later. That's in there. And the way that you do that is you just start writing a post or reply and you hit back, the built-in back button, not your browser back button. And it'll say, hey, do you want to save this as a post? And then also, to Greg's point, next to the clock, there's this chat bubble thing, and you can turn that on or off. What that does is it displays replies or not. So if it's on, you're seeing all the replies as well as people's original posts. Mm-hmm. And if it's off, you're just seeing the top level posts. So if you want to see the fire hose, you would click it to the clock and then enable replies also. And then not only are you seeing the posts, you're also seeing if someone replies to a post in a conversation, like 14 minutes ago, I am dropped something into DENDAO. I can see that. Whereas a minute ago, I couldn't see that. I could just see the DENDAO post.
Right.
So that's what those buttons do up there. Pretty useful.
That's awesome.
So the fire hose mode is fun. I
always view in fire hose mode, honestly.
Yeah.
Wow, I do just the opposite.
If you go into the DENDAO call for May 11th, that's today, there is a link as usual to the at the top, StreamYard link. And that is how you can get yourself into this call. It's open to the public. Any denizen, any human can join. Potentially any bot or AI could join if they're good enough, and I can't tell the difference. So go for it.
Yeah,
anyway,
cool, though.
That's where we are.
I would love it if every social media app had a fire hose mode.
Yeah. Just what's new,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and in exact order, nothing omitted.
Yeah. What are people saying everywhere?
Yeah.
It's kind of what that is. So there's a short agenda today. We have LCP that we'll talk about from May. with a new rule set. And then I'm going to go over quickly how to add images in line with your post in an easy way that doesn't require you to learn anything with Markdown and stuff like that, because there was a question related to a change that apparently has happened in the last couple of weeks with the way that Google Docs works and how you can interact with it. I'll get to that in a minute. And then, of course, after we say that stuff, we'll have a little community feedback for anything that wasn't on the agenda, including, presumably, IM's replies down here. So I haven't even read them yet, so we'll do it cold.
When you do the photo thing, I just have to ask, is it also going to be true for video?
No.
Okay, cool.
No. Used to be, but you can blame me for abusing that, because I was using iframes to embed videos into posts into layers that had videos disabled. And so we were like, yeah, we probably shouldn't allow that. So we got rid of that. So you can't do iframes anymore at all, not just videos. But
that's probably actually really good security practice, because if people are browsing, with certain aspects of scripting disabled, they might not want those kinds of things running in containers in their browser. So
now I will say this. I have not tested, and maybe you or somebody can go test this. I have not tested. So that was specifically the old-fashioned iframe HTML tag, right?
Yeah.
Because just getting a little bit technical,
right.
Den posting uses Markdown. Specifically, it uses Markdown. Markdown itself. It does have I don't know what it is. There are different flavors. I don't know which one we use. Some of them support, for example, like scientific symbols and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
To dig in and see what it is
or whatever.
Yeah. So the interesting thing and the cool thing about Markdown is that you can mix Markdown with HTML.
Yeah.
Seamlessly.
There's a Markdown tag for HTML blocks.
Right. So you can shove just like MySpace, you can shove HTML in there. It'll do HTML stuff. I've even done unroll lists where you can click it and it unrolls something that was hidden before.
Dude.
You can do website-y stuff inside your post if you really get into it.
That is so cool. Are there docs on this?
Nope.
Okay.
We need to crowdsource some. So test it, see what works, and maybe we can create a doc. I don't know.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make ChatGTP write me some really interesting inline stuff that's like hyper intricate.
See what works and what doesn't.
If HTML5 canvas SVG drawing works.
So here's
to animate like a.
That's exactly where I was leading. I'm glad you said that. Yeah. So what I am interested in testing that I've never even tried before is what we can do with that. Because I haven't even thought about videos until just now. You shouldn't be able to do it, but you might be able to if you specifically use the HTML5 video tag, which didn't exist until.
Well, Canvas should allow you to draw a video in SVG in real time if you plug it just right.
I don't know. I have to see. It's Markdown. It's whatever that Markdown that we're using supports, minus a couple of things with a modification or two.
Yeah. Now that might be a thing. Like I might have to go change some settings in Brave or flip a flag or something. But
here's what I'll give you. I'll give you a hint to get started with hacking on that. Cool. A lot of these that I'm talking about, where it supports it unofficially, you're going to have to specifically write it in Markdown mode. Let me just go to a post here real quick. Let me go to Den. I just want to show you real quick. This is a nuance that is important if you're wanting to do like advanced HTML stuff. Yes. So let me go to, I don't know, a layer somewhere. And then
my fair share of time writing Jira tickets before. So
you're familiar with the limitations and
limitations, but also the power of Markdown inline.
So by default, you're in preview mode. And this is something I'll talk about in a second too. If you're going to do some Markdown stuff that's unsupported, that still works, you're going to want to go into Markdown mode. Maybe that's obvious. But here's the stuff. Here's what's not obvious. If you want to do, for example, nested bullets, right? I can have a bullet and it's nested, 4 spaces, nest.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. And I can even do.
Can you use different characters like you can in another Markdown?
Nested again. And if I switch that over to preview, you'll see that it properly shows your nested bullets.
Yeah.
Right? Now, here's the caveat that I'm talking about. That does work for nested bullets. If you do anything fancier than that, as soon as you switch it from Markdown to Preview, it strips it.
So you have to leave it in Markdown.
No
mode.
wonder.
You have to leave it in Markdown mode and then post it in Markdown mode.
Right, because otherwise
do
you'll
that,
figure out the codes
actually-
you're not supposed to
That's
use.
where I-
Ha-ha!
If you
That's
do that,
clever.
there's a lot of stuff that's unavailable in preview mode and in Fancy Pants editor mode that you can get to work. And this is why I recommend using something like, I use Joplin, which is a free,
favorite.
any kind of note taker app that supports Markdown. You can
Right.
draft it up in that and then copy and paste it into Markdown mode here and hit publish. It'll show up properly.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. I've got like 3 or 4 Markdown editors I love.
Cool. So you can play with that, use Markdown mode, publish without checking preview first. That's the key. And unfortunately, that means also that when you go back in to edit it, like for example, when I do my tables, you can do a table in here, right?
Yeah.
This is turning into a little demo, but that's fine.
That's
So
cool,
if I
man.
wanted to do name, I forget how this is actually supposed to work, but tables are something like, you know what? I won't sit here and remember how tables work. But when I do tables and I try to go back and edit them, you can't go back and edit them. You have to have a copy of it locally in your editor that you can then go back and reference to recopy in. Because as soon as you publish it, it's going to strip it out, and you go back in to edit it, it ain't there anymore, kind of thing.
Right.
So,
Well, but the trigger for that filter is on the flag flip. So if you don't flip the flag,
Yeah.
then you can get it stuffed in.
Yep, there you go. So there's some little tips there.
That
Now,
is
some of this is on the.
delete this off the internet someday.
Nope, that's fine. That's fine. I think it's fine. We'll see.
Hopefully nobody figured. And I will, by the way, if I find any terrible exploits in the process, like if I get it, to
Let us know.
Malicious script, I will let you know.
Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. It's just some stuff works for formatting that doesn't work in other cases.
But, and I never really tried to. I never really like to do runtime JavaScript. I think that's lazy web code or websites. Like I prefer websites.
I won't. Yeah, that stuff you're not going to be able. You're not going to do. Yeah, you're not going to have like JavaScript client side processing stuff like that. I'm just talking about unsupported or like stuff Markdown that's not supported by the fancy
but
editor.
I could use the HTML tag for script then and inline some JavaScript, right?
That should not work, but we'll see. So there's that. Now that's a little bit complex. So in a minute, I'll talk about something that's way easier that is related to the inline images thing.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah, anyway.
So cool. No, thanks. This is great because I there's a lot of things that I have fun like talking about that are like nobody cares about. So whenever I have somebody like you on, it's like, oh yeah, how do you do this? And like, well, let's do it.
I mean, and like why? That's my favorite question. I'm glad you're.
You can.
And I would, by the way, still like to know exactly which Markdown variant it is.
Yeah, I would too. I don't actually know the answer to that. So LCP. Let's go through some of the agenda. LCP for May, it looks like commitment phase is open. If you click on the LCP thing in the corner here, little circle with a check mark, it goes to this page. So there's a countdown. We got almost 5 days for voting. And you vote with your lore that you get for free just by using Den. That's sort of our auto staking system where if you earn matter, you get lore from that matter. And as you can see right now, I have an ungodly amount of matter because I'm trying to buy something from Jacob Wayne that is expensive. So I'm starting to use the matter to actually buy physical items and stuff like that. If you check out some of his stuff, he's got a lot of really cool posts on retro gear, Super Nintendo stuff, VHSs, and he's got a camera up for sale. He's a photographer, videographer, and he has a camera up for sale, and I want his camera. So I obtained.
Camera.
It's I don't know if it's the Osmo Action one or if it's a different one, but it's one of the GoPro-ish type of ones.
So it's a nice camera.
I borrowed one from him and took it to Iceland, and I was like, oh, this guy knows his cameras.
Cool. Yeah, I know. I saw some of your video from that. If it was using that camera, it's good.
Yeah, I've got some way better video that I haven't published. But yeah, so I sold something for matter, and now I'm using that to buy something. So hey, it's working.
Cool beans.
And that's also going to bring in.
Pretty soon, people are going to be able to buy Rivet Request with Matter. I bet you.
Cool. And then people that also will. I would like Jacob Wayne to have more of a DENDAO governance weight. So this will give him Matter, which also gives him creator side governance weight, because cool. That's one of the behaviors is just earning Matter in any way you want to earn it.
That's awesome.
So I am. You proposed and it passed, right? It passed, yeah. A GI, which actually, let me go to that now, that would change the number of layers that win the monthly LCP, because we've seen a little bit of a slowdown in the need, or I would say the use of new layers. Some of them never get touched after they're created. So we figured that's probably a pretty good sign that we should slow it down. And instead of doing 3, we're going to do 2. And depending on how that goes, we might end up with 1, because we have number 1 by unique votes, number 8 by lore, number 21 by lore committed is the old way. The new way is going to be number 1 by most unique votes and number 1 by most lore committed. So that'll be these 2 categories, lore and unique voters. Whichever one is in number 1 in each category will win when this countdown hits 0. And you can read about them by clicking on the different proposals. It has a little description here, and you can type in how many lore you want to vote with, and it'll tell you what your share is, right? So if I wanted to have a little bit more of the real estate one, I can look and see that it's already got 2.4 million lore committed among 28 unique voters. And of that, I have signaled interest in that with 76.8 thousand lore, which is 3%. So if I wanted like 5%, I could just say, okay, I want it should dynamically, at the bottom down here, you can see the number changes as I type numbers in. So you can say, how much would it take to get me 5%, right? You can just start adding zeros and be like, oh, okay, there we go. Like that's my threshold. Hit vote. You can also withdraw. And this is all on-chain ERC20 interactions with the contest with no fees. So you can vote and withdraw as much as you want. Over on unique voters side, we ignore the total lore committed, and we only go by the unique voters. So the top by unique voters is what will win that. And we'll see. Oftentimes, whenever we get to close to the end and people see like, oh, obviously all wrestling entertainment is going to win, I better throw some lore in on that. You start seeing the lore side of it start to match, where the number 1 over there is also the same thing, because people are starting to throw into that one. But it's pretty close with real estate at 28, and then actually real estate and Dragon Chain, social, and the vegan layer are all pretty close. We'll see what happens. That's neck and neck in there.
One other thing that you can do that I've done on occasion is push down a choice that I voted up, so that it would hang out right above something, right, and people wouldn't worry too much. And then I would vote for the thing that I wanted to move out of the winning spot, so that it goes out. Yeah, I know, that's exciting. I would do that
too. You see a lot of that happen within the last hour. People going in there, moving stuff around. Yeah. Especially
vote strategically, because you sacrifice some extra lot when you do that, because the more votes you put in to the winner, the more lot you get. But right, if you want one to win, then you can spare some back and use it to nudge things around.
Yeah, that was pretty common when it was 8 and 21 on the lore side, because then it wasn't just like throw a bunch at it to make it number 1. It was, how do you make it fit into this slot? Right here kind of thing. Yeah. So that's the contest and sort of a mini game. Yep. And that goes on for the next 5 days. So go check. I recommend looking at the ones that you really care about and making sure you have some lore in there. As you can see, I make sure that I have some lore in each one of them. I try not to get too much. If I start encroaching double digits, I usually start to back off, unless it's something that I really care about, like 3D printing. I would love to have a little bit more of that. So I'll leave that at 13% in case it wins. But the rest of these, it's like, I'd like to have a little bit just so I have a say in the vote. So maybe 1% or less is fine with me, right?
And if you expand it, what other information do you get about it?
So if I expand, for example, comics, I see the layer description that the proposer wrote about what they want the layer to be like. Types of content. This is basically, if you ever participate in the proposal phase, you copy and paste this from the LCP layer to make your proposal. That's what's in here. And you should be able to click on the title, and it takes you to the page where the proposal lives, which will allow you to see. In this one, there's no conversation under it, but this would allow you to see any conversation under the layer proposal, like, oh, this would be cool, or I want in on it too.
And also connect with the person who created the idea. So if
you to see who it is and that kind of thing.
If it's not going to win, guess what? You just found somebody with a shared interest.
Yeah, if you like, both of you, for example, I've seen, these people are interesting personalities. I would love to see this layer be a success, so I'm definitely going to support that.
I'm definitely going to be looking for guests for Crypto Rogan experience off of people who create these ideas, and it's like when I'm looking for initial guests, I'm gonna find folks who have interests that I share. That's how I'm
interesting.
Going to seek a lot of them out. So it's another.
That's a good idea, actually. That
interview you tell people what you really believe. As well.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I mean, this is about. I mean, I guess if you're good enough to trick me into being interviewed on a show where I'm ostensibly doing interviews, then I can totally accept that.
For example, see, here's one created by Full Value Dan, where that's Crypto Lothar. Where was I just a minute? Freebies, airdrops, and deals. You can see Full Value Dan's proposal here, and then you can see that there's actually a conversation under it. So you can go and dig in to see who's interested in it and stuff like that. That's a good point, though, to figure out like what people are interested in by their proposals, and then use that to inform your guest list. Not bad. So I guess the last thing there is to say about that is whoever wins, there is a runners-up option too. So under unique voters, the top 5 runners-up, you can still get those created if you pay a matter fee. That starts out at 200 matter and then goes to 400, 600, 800, and 1,000. And then anything that has more than 8 unique voters, which if I scroll way down here, right here. So right now, anything from building, construction, trades, and up, Rick Sanchez, skiing, a debunked layer, that could be cool. Any of these can be created as a runner-up if it has 8 or more unique voters for 2,500 matter. And the interesting thing there is you could potentially snipe an LCP layer with a limited number of voters, where the number of lot, so this one right here, skiing and snowboarding, has 20,000 lot lore committed. That means it'll be 20,000 lot, and you can never make any more for that layer. Whereas if you have a custom layer, which is the other way to make like just a few people owning it or whoever you want to own it, those don't have a capped supply. You could always print more lot if you need it on those. But the LCP ones, you could get into like, oh man, this is actually a pretty tight-knit group. I like who supports it. I'm going to go ahead and maybe split the cost of the fee or pay the fee, and we'll get this created. And now we have one with a low number of owners. You can, of course, tip those out and spread them around as much as you want, but it's a strategy if you want to use it.
Cool. Do you ever see people, or have you seen a lot of people use the boost feature to promote their LCP layer yet?
Honestly, no. A couple of times, yes, but typically not so much.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna find
so the way that boosting works, that would be pretty effective, I think, because you could write up a post that links to the specific proposal, or you might be able to, I don't think you can link to the particular thing in LCP, but you can link to the proposal and tell people to go vote for it. And then if you use the boost, the way that shows up is it shows up like if people have sorted by trending with the flame that we talked about, it'll show up as if it had been voted on with more energy, right?
Right.
And then it's still subject, though, to consensus. So if you do that and people don't, if people think it's an annoying spam because you're trying to sell them Viagra or something, then they'll vote it down, and then it quickly drops out of view. And but if it's
purple Viagra layer.
Yeah, but if it's the other way around, then it actually is relevant, and people are like, "Oh, cool! Thanks for letting me know. Or, I like this content." Then you actually get 80% of your money back of your matter that you used to boost it with, as an incentive to write a good boosted post.
Right. So like if you're gonna use the bullhorn for something, be thoughtful about it because if people like it, then you're not going to pay as much.
And if people vote it down and it drops out of view, you don't get that money back, and instead it goes to the trending pool for whoever happens to have trending content that day. It just gets added on to them. So I think that's a pretty neat one. That's the internal boost. When you boost something, since we're talking about it,
the occult library, that's a cool one.
Yeah, there's some cool ones in there. There really are. If I wanted to boost Durox's post here in artificial intelligence, you can boost anyone's post. It doesn't have to just be yours. And if I did try to boost it here, there's a slider. They can go internal or external or mix. Internal is putting all of your matter toward internal ranking, how high it shows up. External is putting all of your matter into what is basically, it's essentially referral rewards. For anybody who hits the share button and shares it to like Facebook or Twitter or something, they actually get rewarded with matter that you have put into Boost. So it actually incentivizes people to share it outside of Den. And as long as they're logged in when they hit the share button, like if this was boosted right now and I hit share here, it actually uses, if I paste this in, there's a referral. It adds my personal referral reference to the end of the URL. So that means if somebody clicks that link from Twitter to come check it out, I on Den get paid out matter from that external boost pool that whoever put in matter to boost it put in there to incentivize people to share it. So that's how boosting works, as a reminder.
Awesome. See, I told you I'd come in here today and I'd extend the meeting.
Good. Far out. I dared you to, and you did it. Yep. So that's LCP. That's also boosting. That's also unintended uses or unsupported uses of Markdown that I wouldn't say unsupported. It just doesn't have an easy mode button on it.
Off-label uses.
Off-label uses. There you go. And then that leads right into the next item on the agenda, which is how to easily add images in line with your post.
Can I make a quick comment about lore?
Yeah.
Kind of interesting factoid.
All right.
Using that word loosely in Number Go Up. Lore's market cap value, fully diluted, is $416,000 for Lore.
Oh, okay.
$416,000 for the Lore market cap. Now, what's ass backward, there you go, is Den is like $46,000.
For matter. Yeah. Interesting. Well, that's all because of the supply. Yeah.
Right. And that's all external market, whatever, that has nothing to do with it. I just thought I'd share that with you.
It's interesting, actually, because there's like billions of lore, right? There's so many of them. It's because it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be easy to get them because that's what you use to vote on stuff to get lot. And that's what you use to actually create lot. Every time there's an LCP contest, we put in the lore that people. So the way that works, the 1-for-1 lore for lot, whenever you're voting, that lore gets burned or it gets turned into lot. And so if you were to actually watch the Ethereum lot contract, whenever we create lot every month, you'll see at least, let's say there's three layers that win, you'll see 4 transactions. Right. You'll see a deposit of lore into the lot contract, and then you'll see minting of lot. Right. That is a 1-for-1 based on how many lore went in, kind of thing.
Now, what's also fascinating is if you bought $200 worth of lore right now, you'd pay about $75 in F fees.
Oh, really? They're up there again, are they?
Yep.
So is Bitcoin, man.
Yep.
Well.
All right. Well, anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you.
That's lore. Unfortunate, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We do have now. This is not officially supported either on Den, but a denizen did create a bridge to Polygon that seems to work, where you can send matter, not lore, but matter, over to Polygon. And so
Oh, cool.
I haven't tested it out much
So it's
myself.
like a wrapper, or the
Yeah, it's what it is. Yeah, it's wrapped. It's like whatever they call it. It's like
basically
a
vaults up
child.
whatever you.
Well,
It's
Polygon has child
WMTR,
contracts.
Right.
Yeah, it's MTR still. It's like something MTR. Whatever Polygon uses as their designation for child contracts from Ethereum, it's that.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
So you can look up the Ethereum Matter contract on Polygon Explorer and find Matter.
Right.
on
Okay.
Polygon.
So yeah, it's using the callout function. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's using that. Something to discuss maybe is using, like, for example, Rivet to enable withdrawals to a to Polygon directly from
Nice.
Den would be dope. You know,
Yeah.
it's on the table. I don't know if there's resources for it right now, but it's definitely something that's on the table, especially with the fees
That's
going
cool.
back up and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, and Polygon is like blowing up, so
They are. Yep.
it's a good place to be if you want to. It's a good place to position oneself if you want to be where people are headed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So I made a little video over in the tutorials layer. It was just like 10 minutes before coffee with Den. I was like, let me bang one of these out. And all I do is I go through and basically show you how to drag and drop from an image that's hosted anywhere on the internet. I just used DuckDuckGo's image search to find one. And you can actually drag it directly into a post on Den, and it shows up inline.
Oh, neat.
What that
Cool.
does is it just puts in the markdown for you. What I was talking about earlier with
Right. So it's sort of like that flag flip, but instead it's adding markdown instead of taking it away.
yeah. So the reason that I made that is because you used to be able to go to Google Docs, and let me go to Den support here and find this post. Den support. There was a post from Durux that says posting using Google Docs goes wrong. This is basically a workaround or a hack that it was in common use by people that wanted to write nicely formatted posts with images that were embedded in line with the post. And they would use Google Docs, and then when they copied everything and pasted it, it would paste a reference to the image inside of a Google Docs.
Right. And the pointer would load up when the browser loads. Right.
And so what that was doing, and this is sometimes difficult to explain, but basically what you're doing when you do that is you're uploading a picture to Google Docs, like Google Drive or something. Mm-hmm. And then whenever you put it in Den, you're not really putting the picture in Den. You're putting a reference to the picture in Den.
Right. And it's loading the picture from the remote location.
From Google, right.
Sort of like how you would normally do with an IPFS pointer.
Right. Yeah, that kind of thing. And so you can do it that way. And what that does is the difference is if you do it that way, instead of attaching it with the add images button,
right.
which by the way does not show in line, it shows at the bottom or at the top rather of your post. If you attach them, that is on Den's blockchain. That is on chain.
Yep.
And so it's going to be on Den's infrastructure. If you add it this other way, which was previously done with Google Docs, you are referencing it somewhere else. So you don't have any control over if it goes away, if you delete that document, if somebody who owns that server changes something or disables public access to it, it'll break your post. Right.
So like if you're using IPFS and nobody's pinning it anymore, then it'll vanish. But as long as you're still pinning it, it will be.
But that's a decent trade-off for the ability to put whatever resolution images you want and however many of them you want to put in your post, right?
That's awesome. That's as a person who likes to use IPFS as much as possible, I'm going to definitely use this feature.
Cool. So that's broken now. You can't use Google Docs to do that anymore, because whenever you copy an image now from Google Docs, for whatever reason, they've changed it to where you get this. You get the base 64 conversion.
They're doing a direct base 64.
Yes.
That's lame.
So they're taking the image and they're saying, okay, here's your image in base 64, which is hundreds of thousands of characters most of the time.
And that literally causes the browser to generate the file inline, which is
right. And so then, the idea is that if that's how it's added, then it reinterprets it and shows you an image. But we have a 100,000 character limit on posts.
Right.
So that
you
fails to
can't-
post.
You can't build a file that big inline and have it work. It doesn't make it to the close tag.
Right. Right. And so the way to really do it is to add it to where it looks like this instead. This is the same thing. If you look at this again, it's exclamation brackets and then open parentheses and then all this garbage, all this data.
Right. And that's like the markdown precursor to the file getting created. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
But
instead,
when you link, it's dumping in the freaking base 64 blob.
right. And instead, what you expect, which is the way it worked in the past, is it would instead have a link to your Google Docs right here, the path to the Google hosted image right here, right? And so that's what you really are. That's what it's doing when you drag and drop an image into the editor, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's been another question since then about how do I upload my own image if it's not on the internet already? This is where you got to find a host. Jacob Wayne actually uses Hive's blockchain to host images because I think they have like a lot more hosting features or something. I haven't looked into that more, but he actually links to his because he uses Hive as well as Den. So he links to images hosted there on their chain.
And I would love to show you guys this too, because, and I'm not normally on this call with a stream, so I can't, but hey, check this out. So if you see like right up here, I got to turn off.
You got to turn off your AI background, bro.
I got this. I'm so messed.
Oh, and he just turned himself off. So while he's coming back, I'll say that one of the hacks you can do is, and actually let me pull my screen down for a second. And then what I'll do, here's Greg back. Welcome back, Greg.
Yep.
What I'll do is I'll share my whole.
So you can see.
Oh, you're back. Okay.
IPFS uploader.
I see that.
That's your magic. This
Yep.
app is really slick because it's super simple. You literally just have like your file pins, and you hit this little menu down here at the bottom right that expands out.
Yep.
It's a little bit blurry, but you can, my ring light.
So that generates.
You can literally upload any kind of file, and you'll get an IPFS link that you can use, and
that is internet routable.
Yeah,
right?
Interplanetary File System will give you an internet routable link, and it'll display your file, so you don't have to use something that somebody else can take down.
Cool. So if it is a direct link to the file, not a page with the file in it, but a direct link to the file, you can use that to embed an image as well. The same kind of thing.
Nice.
So I've got my whole desktop up here now, with my Dino writers in the background, and so on the left I just from the Den. We have a Den internal layer that is private, just so we can like test stuff out without muddying up the whole feed and stuff. I just wanted to say that I haven't tested this, so I'm going to test it live, and if it doesn't work, it's not my fault. But I have in this reply over here, I have two things going on. I have one of them, and I'll make this a little bit bigger now that I'm in full screen. Sorry for anybody who's on a phone. You're not going to be able to see much. But I've got a reply that was kind of demonstrating, you can right-click, copy image link to get the URL to the file. But I have added that as an image in on Den, right? I've actually used the attach image to add that image. Right. So theoretically, I could actually take and pull that over as well.
So you can use Den to host an image.
Yes.
Cool.
So if you have the image in a post somewhere on Den, you can use that image inline. And if you wanted to do it within the same one, you could even add an image, like, I don't know, this Rise of AI, or maybe this moron playing poker with with mirror glasses, right?
Nice.
So here's somebody playing poker with mirror glasses on, right? And
talk about a tell.
I know. And let's say this is a test, so I'll just say another test. Now let's say this is hacky, but it works. So if it's stupid and it works, it ain't stupid. A story about a moron wearing mirror glasses while playing poker, right? And then image goes here, just a note for myself, and I'll say that was an image. Now I'm going to go ahead and post this, which is going to upload my image to Den as an attachment. So I'll post this now. And whenever I go back into that post, because you can edit posts on Den, I can now edit this. Oops, let me go back. Let me open this up in a new tab so I can get it on both ends here. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit this, but then guess what? I can erase this and I can click and drag this over and put it where I want.
Oh,
and
nuts. So you can literally
and now
get
it's
it
in
to-
there. And now it's self-referencing. It's at the top. It's in the top, but it's also in line where you
So
want it
now
to show
just
up.
like a
And you
jersey.
could go, and you could actually go back and delete the other post where the image was, and what would happen?
See, I think it'll disappear.
Right.
Let's try it.
Because the link would be gone.
Let's try it. Let's delete it. Although it does have versioning, so it might still be there. So let's see. Let's update and let's refresh. It's still there.
Oh, nice. So the
Whoa.
blockchain is storing that there.
Check that
Dude,
shit out.
That's some black magic.
Bam.
That you just found a new use case for blockchains.
So if I click on edited here, I can see the version history. Here's the original. Go back in, and there's the other version. And here's the very first one, right?
Yeah.
And then you have whichever is which. I don't know. But basically, yeah, there's the different versions. And because of the versioning, it's still on chain and it's still referenced by the same file name.
Dude, this
So you
is
can-
why tech is magic.
You can do
And
that.
also why
It's
privacy
hacky, but it
is an
works.
important thing.
What's that? What did you say, Dave?
Oh, I said it's hacky, but it works.
Yeah.
Dude. That's
So-
a cool
And
hack.
Dan's
That's a
only
cool
worth
hack.
$40,000.
Yeah, well, if somebody wants to buy it, they can buy all of them. Go for it. All right, so cool. That was fun. Honestly, I didn't know how that was going to work until I tried it just now. So
Dude, that's
that
a
was
neat
extra fun.
property of Markdown integration with Den and with Dragon Chain. That's really super cool
It's really
All right.
cool.
because you can create a presentation there that you would have
Yeah,
to,
and then
you have
and
to
then it
reverse
is.
engineer that if you asked somebody to explain how that worked, but you could because you have the chain. So
Now that wasn't designed to work that way. That just does work that way, which is
Well-
there's all kinds of stuff like that where it's like that wasn't necessarily a design
this is something
priority,
you should,
but it
like,
does work that way.
You should put this in front of somebody on the uber big brain blockchain builder team.
Yeah,
Like I want to know from Joe how that works. Because I know that it's got to work for a specific reason. But
well, it works because of the versioning. Because we wanted
but how
to
is
have
Markdown
on-chain-
going to scan for past versions, right?
Oh, no. Oh, I know. Yeah. I can answer that. Check this
You
out.
mean
Here's
how fast it's posting onto the blockchain to be able to
Right. Is every time you
maintain
refresh, is
that?
it reading from block 0 to block present or what?
it's it's so the front end of Den
Mhm.
is communicating with the Den server, and they're two different
Right.
things. And so it's the way that Dragon Chain works is it's able to offer up a RESTful API for anything that you want to get from from its blockchain. So the website is asking the Den API for a piece of data that is on Den's chain, on Den's blockchain, on Dragon
And the
Chain.
API itself is smart
Through-
enough to check the block history if it's not in the current block.
No, even
has-
better. If I open this image in a new tab,
Okay.
you can see that it's actually referencing Dragon Chain's media images here.
Okay.
And so this is referencing an actual image, and then this hash here is the identifier for that data where it
pulls the block
lives.
from the hash, the correct block, correct block from the hash, and that's how
Yeah, it
you
uses the hash to identify where it is on chain, and it doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't
Love it.
have to know
I love
what
it.
block
So
it's
it could
in.
be Genesis block, and it could be thousands and thousands and thousands of blocks later.
Yeah.
Times 10,
Right. It just has to know where it's at, not necessarily what block it's in. And that
It
image
also helps with the scaling and the fast retrieval.
Hashing is so cool. I love it. This
Yeah.
is my favorite nerd out we've had in here yet.
And then to make sure that there's no tampering, I like to think of Dragon Chain and anything built on Dragon Chain as having digital tamper seals on everything.
Yup.
So that image then is also hashed to Bitcoin and Ethereum, and also right now Binance Smart Chain.
Yeah.
So that if anybody tried to pretend that this image was different, take the
Right.
glasses off and say, you're a moron. She doesn't have glasses on. I'm an insider who changed the image to make it look like you lied, which has happened in other places.
You can just be like, Bosh, nope.
You could actually prove that was not the case.
Right. So you can go
or
to
if anybody went
and make sure that it maps.
Yeah. Or if you want to put a tinfoil hat on and say, oh, the NSA hacked into something and changed it so they could take me to court and say I said something. We could actually prove in court that it was tampered with.
Right. Well, you could, assuming that like NSA can get a hold of more computing powers in the sun if you're like going to ETH with it to try to fix it.
Right. I'm just saying like, well, that's what I'm saying is because it is hashed to ETH and Bitcoin, unless they toppled them, you can prove that they're lying. Kind of thing.
That's magic. It's freaking magic.
Wow, this little section here, Dave, I know you're super busy. If you could snip this and put this out there on YouTube under Den's account or something, it would show it's powerful. Link it back to Twitter, et cetera, et cetera.
You think I explained it well enough for like the average person?
That was a super powerful clip.
Yeah, and then to be able to visually see it and watch you do it, it's just like,
yeah,
cool. All right,
yeah, that was neat.
Powerful, dude.
Yeah, I would literally link to that anytime anybody was like, "What's the use case for it?" There's nothing useful that it does. Yeah, there is. You're just typically not able to have the attention span to hear a technical explanation.
Well, good. I'm glad it was effective.
That was magic.
And I can use that in reply to Durox as well because Durox asked specifically, how can I just upload my own images and then use that inline kind of thing.
Yep. You don't even have to tell anybody that you uploaded it because, or have visual tell that you uploaded or have it replicated twice because you can delete it in a subsequent edit and it still stays.
Now you've got me interested to know what other stuff works in Markdown, like HTML5 tags, for example. That could be interesting.
Imagine like resources that you could have embedded in past posts that you could go.
Well, for example, we don't support WebMs right now. I wonder if you could embed a WebM that way. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
So WebP and WebM are supports that we don't have right now.
I wonder if you could then even like concat to escape the. Interesting. Okay, I've got some ideas.
I don't know. There are bug bounties, so if you find something.
I'm probably going to be more using this to magically create as opposed to go out and try to magically destroy. But there are probably people out there who would look the other way. So if I see any major risks, I'll point them out.
Cool.
I also use. I should be able to find it real quick. Let's see. Table to Markdown. There's some online tools to convert to Markdown.
Yeah. Also, GPT chat can write any style of Markdown. So,
if I have, I use this to make my tables in Den posts. If I have like a off screen, I'm going to just pull up Sheets, Google Sheets, and make a little spreadsheet. You can do this on Google Sheets, or I use LibreOffice as well. Works the same way. But if I wanted to pull up, I have all of this shitcoin conference from Miami stuff in here. Let's do, that's private data. What can I do? ChinoFest. That's great. There we go. So let's pull up some data real quick with titles. Perfect. All right. Copy that. So I've just copied from Excel some Excel spreadsheet stuff. And I want to put that in nicely formatted into Den. So I'm going to paste it in here. And it's going to convert it. It's just pasting a tab separated Excel spreadsheet. And over here, it creates this nice little Markdown thing. And Greg, this is, and I am, both of you, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said you have to use Markdown mode.
yeah.
So if I go into Den internal and do a new post, and I'll say table test, I go to Markdown mode and I paste in that table, right? If I go back to preview mode, it does show it to me, but it will not post properly. It shows me that it's right, but when I post it, it makes a liar out of me. Okay, it worked. Some things don't work. but it worked. If I go back into edit it, let me see, go back to preview. Okay, it still does strip it out when you go back to edit it. That must be what I was thinking of. See how when I went back to edit it, it's no longer there anymore. So you can paste in a table and then update, and it shows up as a table. Now it's kind of muddy because I didn't do it right, but you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So you can make tables that way too. So there's a lot of stuff you can do in there. All right, so that's the how-to with the images, with a little bit of extra, examples of things you can do. You can combine Markdown with HTML. You can use online tools like Markdown Converter. And like Greg said, if you want to use GPT to tell it to write something and format it in Markdown to display a certain way, give it a shot. See if it works. Go put it in the AI layer and say this is generated by AI to be compatible with Markdown. See if it works, that kind of thing.
Cool. And I just sent you a message, by the way, on Den. And I'm not paying you for this one, sorry, but there's a
no, you don't have to.
I know, I'm teasing you. Markdown guide site that is a really great cheat sheet, and then a link to the extended syntax and the standard syntax so that you can
I see it.
So if anybody wants to try their hand at writing it by hand, you can use this guide, and then if you click on any of the things like heading or whatever, you get an explainer and documentation about how to use it, along with alternate syntaxes and best practices, and then examples. So you can learn how to do Markdown from markdownguide.org. But I just
I've seen this before. It's really good. Very helpful.
Thanks for the tip. I will say that one modification, one customization, is that if you ever look at, for example, DENDAO has these blue headers here, these nice blue titles.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm in dark mode. Let me turn that off. Normally it looks like this. But you see how we have these nice blue titles here?
Yeah.
All that is we've modified our Markdown to represent
style.
3 hashes. The H3 one makes it blue.
Cool.
That's all.
That's awesome.
That's all that is.
Yep.
That is not standard. That's just something that is done on.
Well, you can basically depending on how you like things. I'm familiar with Markdown a fair amount, actually. It's one of my favorite topics. You can actually build templates that display different, it's basically just CSS that's waiting in place for whatever Markdown style you make to get converted into HTML, and then it just applies the style. So you can sort of use CSS style sheets to template up the way you want your Markdown to look if you have control over the site. Now, obviously, people don't have that here. Although maybe they could drop a CSS file small enough into a block and then reference back to it. Have it actually your Markdown with your HTML.
Yeah, if it works,
might work. But
and on your cheat sheet, here's those two I was talking about. Here's how you do a link, and here's how you do an image. So that's all in there as well, and tables, and all kinds of stuff. There's some neat tricks. I haven't tried a bunch of these. Oh, attack list. Okay, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what works.
Cool,
cool, man. Anything else you want to talk about today?
Yeah, I just wanted to.
You had replies.
So
what was that, Greg?
I just wanted to pop in and say hey and see if any stuff that I needed to learn for the Crypto Rogan layer is relevant to today, which obviously.
Oh yeah, now you have some formatting tips and tricks to be able to use in your layer there. Heck yeah, good, very good. So there's a comment in Coffee with Den about Uniswap and their listing or search restriction of matter. What was this, and can someone comment about it? I know that Uniswap did censor Dragon. I don't think they censored.
Oh, it wasn't Matter then. It was Dragon. Yeah, because I looked up Matter and I could find it on Uniswap. So
yeah.
Well, and you can import any contract.
Yeah, contract. Just cut
and paste the contract. Not if they specifically put it on their ban list.
Oh, they have a ban list now?
Yes.
Are you freaking kidding me?
So it does not affect the underlying liquidity pools, but it does apply to their front end.
Front end now. What a bunch of punks.
Yeah. Yep. So if I do MTR, it shows up for me, but it won't show up for you because I've used it before. What you have to do is this is probably
Etherscan.
Go to Etherscan.
Etherscan, copy paste the contract and
find Matter. Exactly. Yep.
Right.
Right here with the atom symbol.
Yep.
And then that'll load up, and we'll go over here and we'll copy this address. And then on Uniswap, you can put in just right here an address for a token, and that'll
Yeah.
directly show you what it is. Now, if I do the same thing to
With Dragon.
this is unrelated to Den necessarily. Like Den obviously is a Dragon chain blockchain, but
can't
if
believe
you
they blocked it.
just for curiosity's sake, let's look at Dragon, right? And then we copy that contract address after it loads for a second, apparently. Maybe I can refresh. My dark mode plugin sometimes breaks websites. So let me turn that off.
Relatively heavy-handed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it also works really well most of the time.
Yeah,
But sometimes it works not at all. Oh, come on.
Here, I got this one. I'll pull up my Etherscan. I'll send you the contract so you can show it.
I got it, I think.
Oh, good. Wow, they must be having I'm having the exact same loading issue on.
Oh, here we go. Cool. Now let me copy that, go back to Uniswap, add that contract address in, and it shows up. And it said, oh, you know what?
You can just click I understand.
That's right. I understand. Okay, here's the thing, though. There's a caveat to what I said a minute ago. If you try this, I guarantee you 9 out of 10 times it won't work. For some reason, on my computer here, it works.
It works
if
on
I
mine
use
too.
does it?
I can always click I understand. Like I buy a lot of tokens that aren't listed on major US exchanges.
Yeah, but dude, it's literally been the case. It's literally been the case where it has been unavailable, and it shows you. It shows you even shows you what ban list it's been on.
Well, depending on which browser you're using, may be different. Depending on how you've accessed Dragon Chain in the past, or not Dragon Chain, but Uniswap in the past. Like you might have to go into the settings. See the little settings wheel, the gear. Go ahead and click on gear.
Yeah, they have lists,
you might
right?
have to turn on advanced mode.
Where is that?
You got to scroll down maybe, or where is
it?
Auto.
And I remember advanced mode used to be a thing.
Advanced mode after you pulled it up. Right. After you've pulled it up is where you get your advanced mode where you can alter the
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you have to actually start entering a trade.
Okay, well
anyway, we get it.
Yeah.
Now there's an advanced mode that if you hit it, like it'll turn off a lot of the safety protections.
They definitely did have it on a list at some point. So I don't know.
Change your slippage tolerance to something way outside the lines.
Right.
Using advanced mode, you're not supposed to do that because you will get front run. So someone's gonna basically, who's a miner, is gonna intentionally front run you to eat your fees, and then you'll have to do it again.
So there's that. You just have to manually put in the contract address to find it. Click I understand. What would it take to have sub layers? And how can we do it? Simply, one thought about matter payments, they could roll up to the parent layer and be paid to those, right? Sort of the same way we do with energy to parent content.
Anonymous.
Could limit it. English. We could limit it
to just one sub, not sub of a sub.
Yeah. We could use the DAO mechanism to create sub layers that already exist in the individual layer. This is similar to how, it would logically work similar to how sorting by tag would work. So then you could think of, if we had it, this is not a thing right now, but the next step with smart tags, like the second pass for smart tags, is going to be enabling layers to filter by tags. And I would use the music layer as an example, where if you want your music layer to just be a rock and roll music layer, or if you only want to see folk and country music, you could have those filtered, and you're basically in a different layer. Your experience of that layer is different based on what you filtered.
Exactly.
This doesn't give different DAOs for each sub layer, though. It doesn't give you
well, I mean, that's literally like a difference of how you would point to it from a URL standpoint, because tag filters will probably work with like a decorator on the end, as opposed to just a different part of the URL path, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I actually hadn't thought about doing it that way, but it's probably smarter to do it that way. That way you could link to a specific flavor of the layer.
Right. It would be cool because you could like make Yeah, it would be like a variable you could modify and still have most of the linking be canonical without too much trouble.
Yeah.
The idea here was to obviously be able to see if we could start pulling people in from Telegram or Twitter, you know what I mean, into DIN. So it would be kind of a place where, yeah, I get your point. If it's a tag, like let's say all things items to Doge, all right, and so I click on the tag Doge, would I be able to then go and click on the flame or the clock for just Doge point?
Yes,
Doge,
you would.
Doge. Yep. So it's really just, and then that way, the layers actually become worth that much more, because it would, I would think, drive more postings within the layer.
That's a really good way to filter out stuff you don't care about too.
Exactly, and you could also, it would be a way to maybe attract people from Telegram or Twitter into DIN.
Yeah, because like, hey, I like cryptocurrency, but like I like cryptocurrency from this perspective, you know, and that could be, you could just make it your own. And then with what Greg was saying, where you could
DeFi, all the different categories.
100%, yeah. And then with what Greg was saying, if you could have that encoded in the URL, to where once you did that and you shared it, you could share that URL, that layer that you've created, that sub layer. When you share it, because it could be in the actual URL, referencing what you did, you know, to create that. Then whenever you're like, hey, come over to Doge DIN, you know, you could literally share just a Doge version of the cryptocurrency layer to be like, oh yeah, this is what people see straight up.
So what you're saying is, to keep it simple, is to use the tags.
Yes. Yeah.
Or, you know, if people really wanted to feel like a sublayer, then you make the tag sort a background function that is used to, you know, populate an empty version of, like, you could still have a slash in the URL beyond the layer's normal path, and have
you can present that however you want.
That presented only the things within that tag. It can still be used to make it feel that way, I guess.
Now the other thing, go ahead.
I was going to say, the idea is just to keep it simple so it could be built quickly and be able to suck in more people in from Telegram and Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, filter by tag is really cool.
I've given up with Telegram when it comes to crypto stuff, man.
It would preclude you from doing things like having separate headers based on tags and stuff like that. Like, you wouldn't have to be able to have like a vote for just the people who are interested to say.
That's what I was going to say.
The avatar for the Bitcoin sub, right?
Right. So you would not exactly. That wasn't what I was going to say. The limitation of that is that you would still have an overall DAO of the cryptocurrency layer. So you'd have one banner, one avatar, one description.
Yeah.
One
subcommittees or working groups in sub.
One collection of lot holders or owners that vote on everything. But then within that, everybody has their own little personality.
So there's power
similar to a Discord server. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. I feel like there's power in the idea, though.
What's that, Greg?
There's power in that idea. I think it's worth a worthy goal to work towards. This might be a more long-term vision type feature.
Sure. No, sorting by tags has been something that we wanted to do for a while. So that's definitely that's how this would be implemented, I think, if it was done right now.
Yeah.
This is also the easiest way to do it.
Cool. Well, all right. Guys. I actually have to jump.
We're wrapping up anyway. That's all right.
Done, I think.
So that's good timing.
Cool.
We do this every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is noon Pacific time, and it's +5 from, I guess, for UTC, whatever that is, 8 p.m., right? UTC. So this is open for everybody to come in and collaborate with and talk about, DIN stuff. And that's it. So as we do every week, I'm going to send us out with a song from one of our denizens named Y'all Weird. This is called Enter the Dragon. And thanks again for joining in and discussing this with me. We'll see you all next week. Have a good weekend, all right?
Thanks, guys.
All right,
cheers, guys.
Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.